Coming up on First at 4, heavy rain causes flooding in several eastern Kentucky counties. We'll take you to Jackson County, where some water rescues were reported today.
And we are going to continue our severe weather alert day as some heavy rain continues tonight and into your Wednesday. First at 4 is next.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, heavy rain leads to flooding issues across parts of central and eastern Kentucky. Flood warnings and advisories continue for several counties. That's why we are continuing our severe weather alert day. Chief Meteorologist Paige Noel tells us what to expect heading into tonight. Paige?
Yeah, Steve, we are going to continue to see more rain, but kind of a good news right now, the counties that have been hit the hardest finally getting a break from the rain in what seems like almost 24 hours. They have not seen that break. Let's go ahead and take you up to radar first, where you can see some of those flood warnings further Kentucky River up towards Estill and Powell County. But areas along I-75, we know that you guys have got hit really hard. Getting a little bit of a break now. We're seeing the heavy rain start to move out a little bit. Lighter rain continues across some of the areas, but areas that have not been hit that hard. So we do have a lot of aerial flood warnings in effect from Moorhead down to Laurel County. This does include Jackson as well. These are going to go through the evening hours. They keep honestly getting extended, so some of them expire at 8 p.m. Others expire a little bit later into 11 o'clock tonight. So we will continue to keep you all updated on these flood warnings. Always remember to turn around, do not drown if you do see a flooded roadway. Here are some 48-hour rainfall totals, and I've been trying to keep up with these all day, so these might be off just a little bit, but you could see Rowan County, Barberville, and especially Somerset, even Jackson County got hit hard, anywhere from 2 to 4+ inches, while other areas like the city of Jackson only about 1.36 inches. So areas really I-75 up towards Lexington to I-64 got hit pretty hard. So this flash flood watch actually got extended until 8 a.m. on your Wednesday. I do think we still see some pockets of heavy rainfall tonight and definitely could create some issues for those areas that are already seeing issues. We'll talk a little bit more about tonight and Wednesday's forecast coming up in a little bit.
All right, Paige, thank you. One of the hardest hit areas from all this rain is Jackson County. Within a 24-hour period, the county saw several inches of rain. This led to flooding and even power outages. WYMT's Connor James is in Jackson County, where officials also said there were a few high water rescues.
It's been kind of a mess here in Jackson County. Their judge executive Shane Gabbard tells me that they've had a lot of problems really for the past 24 hours. They've had power outages, trees that have fallen down due to the saturated ground, and of course, like you can see behind me, a lot of flooding. The areas where we're seeing a lot of that heavy flooding is along Highway 421 here in Jackson County. That also goes into Clay County, where we're also seeing high water issues. And today in Jackson County, some crews here have actually had to go on a few water rescues. Now, thankfully, that's only resulted in damage to vehicles and no loss of life or injuries to anyone involved. Now, officials here in Jackson County say they can't emphasize it enough. If you see high water, turn around, don't drown.
I don't care if you've lived somewhere for 50 years. If water's across your road and hits anything close to what you think it's dangerous, don't go across it. I mean, it don't take a lot of water to lift up a vehicle and swift it down the river.
Now, of course, Gabbard says crews here in the county are still on standby throughout the day and are out and about assessing any damages or anything brought on by this flooding. He says in his estimation, they've received roughly 7 to 8 inches of rain. I'm in Jackson County. Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
With the heavy rain and possibly more in the forecast, emergency crews have also been busy in Laurel County. Rescue crews, including Campground Fire Department and Stevens Towing, have been busy all day. Many trees have fallen across roadways, knocking down power lines and flooding roadways. With water crossing the roads, crews had to rescue some stranded drivers. Sergeant Don Fern says locals know the road and feel like they can make it, but do not realize how deep it is. 13 inches of water can get in the car's engine or exhaust, stalling the vehicle and stranding drivers. We'll have more from Laurel County later tonight. In Powell County, the water started rising over roadways this morning and came close to closing the Mountain Parkway. The 911 director there said they were getting calls just before 8 a.m. of roads becoming flooded. Roads in Clay City that usually flood last were getting hit first. By around 10 a.m., crews closed multiple roads, most of them near the Red River. This tends to be the case with flooding through Powell County as the river spills out of its banks and onto nearby roads.
Anytime we see water come up in the eastern end of the county, we realize it's eventually going to make its way to the western end of the county. The more flood-prone areas of Clay City usually receive it 24 hours or so after the fact.
As of right now, crews say there have not been any water rescues there. They say most people seem to be taking the proper precautions. The U.S. death toll from the coronavirus surpassed 91,000 this afternoon. Every state except Connecticut is partially easing restrictions designed to slow the spread of the virus. 21 states are still seeing an increase in new positive cases. One of them is Florida. They are allowing smaller attraction parks such as Gatorland to reopen by the end of the week.
There's a lot of work going on with all of the smaller attractions around here.
The NFL says teams can begin reopening facilities today only if states and local authorities allow it, but no players are allowed to enter unless they are undergoing treatment. President Donald Trump is threatening to cut off funding to the World Health Organization for good. It is in a scathing 4-page letter. The president slammed the WHO for what he called a failed response to COVID-19, an alarming lack of independence from China, and for ignoring credible reports from Wuhan. Sweden experienced its deadliest month in almost 30 years this April. The coronavirus death rate is much higher than many of its neighbors. More than 30,000 have been infected. The country saw almost 3,700 deaths. Sweden handled the pandemic differently than other European nations. It did not implement a full lockdown, keeping schools and businesses open. Health experts there did encourage social distancing. If you live in West Virginia, today is the deadline to register to vote in the state's primary election. Voters have 3 options to cast their votes: in-person voting on Election Day, a 10-day early voting period, or through expanded use of absentee ballots due to the coronavirus pandemic. More than 18% of registered voters requested an absentee ballot this year. West Virginia's primary election is June 9th. Of course, Kentucky's is a little later than that, on June 23rd. Kentucky's primary election was originally scheduled for today. A police officer in Laurel County was hit in the face after responding to a disturbance call. This is 49-year-old David Osborne. Deputies say they responded to a call of a man crawling on the roadway with a knife. It happened on Swiss Colony Lane. While trying to arrest him, deputies say Osborne struggled and hit a deputy. Osborne was charged with assaulting a police officer, among other charges. A man was stabbed in the face in Nashville, Tennessee following a robbery. It happened last night on Fairfield Avenue. Nashville police said the man was sitting inside his vehicle when someone robbed him. Customers at a nearby store found the man bleeding in the parking lot. He is listed in critical condition. No arrests have been made. There is new video of Ahmaud Arbery, the man in Georgia who was chased, shot, and killed in February. Britain's Guardian website uncovered police body cam footage from November of 2017. The body cam footage shows a Glenn County police officer approach Arbery in a Brunswick, Georgia park. Less than 2 minutes later, another officer appears. Arbery refuses to let them search his car. Here is a portion of that encounter.
Allow me to search your car? You can't go in my... I'm not asking you. Just don't reach the car, man. Get your hand out of your pocket. Hands out of your pocket. Hands out of your pocket.
Now, the officers eventually let Arbery go and he walks away. Just 2 years later, Arbery would be shot and killed by Gregory and Travis McMichael. The father and son are facing murder charges. They claim self-defense in the shooting. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says he had no idea the ousted Inspector General at the State Department was investigating him. Now lawmakers from both parties are asking the president for a detailed reasoning for the firing. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi cited reports that Steve Lanick was nearing completion of an investigation into the approval of billions of dollars in arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Coming up on First at 4, are you going to fly after travel restrictions are lifted? Many Americans say they will not. Find out how airlines are trying to change your mind.
And more heavy rain is likely tonight and throughout the day on your Wednesday. I'll have a look at that forecast coming up.